Welcome to the DevReady Podcast, where we're helping non-techs build great tech. Today we're joined by Artem. He is the co-founder of testRigor, and why we have him on today, he's built a significant business in the space of testing automation, working with the likes of Netflix, Burger King, Major League Baseball over in the US, quite a significant, over 40,000 organizations now using testRigor to automate and improve the way they're testing their software. Software testing is critical to building robustness in technology and also scalability in how we build out our products. If we don't have a product that we can rely on, it's very difficult to sell, very difficult to win customers, and very difficult to build a robust business. Artem, thank you for joining us. I really appreciate you coming on the DevReady Podcast.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Now, for everyone that's out there listening, tell us a bit about your background, and I know you're an engineer. Tell us about how you sort of began in the industry and then what led you up to testRigor.
I was actually engineer by trade and mathematician by education.
Yep.
And I'm in the industry right now for about 30 years. So I've seen all kinds of stages.
You look quite young for the industry for 30 years.
Yeah, look a little bit younger than I am.
Yeah.
And at some point, the complexity of software was increasing all the time.
Yes.
If you remember, 1990s, oh my God, you can probably give this stuff to children right now. If it's ChatGPT, it will be bam, 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 doing all these programs as we were building commercially at the time. It's so easy now, and the complexity kept increasing, always in a sense exponentially. So always more and more and more, faster. You're relying on complex libraries, more and more complex systems, and so on and so forth. And at some point, people realize that, the way to test software manually, as we have been doing it all the time, is actually the bottleneck. So it is the thing what prevents them from being able to move faster, outrun the competition, and deliver quickly enough the updates, fixes, and so on and so forth that their customers require. And hence was born the automation.
So for people that don't understand testing in the process, what you say manual is the bottleneck. If you do significant code changes and someone has to then get handed over the fence, you get a ball comes over and then that person's got to sit there and test manually all these test cases. That can take days sometimes, depending on complexity, or even longer. So it has become a huge bottleneck in terms of the ability to deploy new code to live production, etc. So I agree with that.
Yeah, so I'll just give an interesting example to think of, right? Imagine Amazon.com. They think about what would you want to make sure that is working on Amazon.com? With finding a product and purchasing a product, logging in, and making sure it goes through the stages, and the stages are reflected in the system, and emails are sent, and so on and so forth. And this is so critical. You want to make sure it's always working. You can't release an update of Amazon.com and break the functionality of a user to be able to purchase something. You'll be literally losing millions by minute.
Yeah, correct. Ordering that goes through the platform would be very significant amount of dollars going down the drain because of it.
Yep. Therefore, you need to be able to test it. And at some point, and of course, engineers build the code, they test it, and so on and so forth. Now imagine there are more than 1 million of things like that you need to test. Of course, you can't do it manually. It's not humanly possible. So you need to do automation. So you need to build automated tests. So engineers are usually helped out to move it faster. In fact, Amazon.com has the vast majority of test cases automated. They deploy tens of or hundreds of times a day. You don't even notice.
No.
Because it's
seamless.
tested automatically. And the problem with that is, at some point it becomes increasingly hard to maintain that automation. Because if you wrote the way automation was invented back in 90s and early 2000s is it relies on how the system built to hook up into all of those specific details of implementation, like how this thing is rendered, what is the idea of it, so-called XPath, CSS selectors, something that you as a user do not see. But when the program accesses the website, it's in the structure of that page. And the problem with that is as you scale, as you go along, that becomes in itself is a bottleneck. Because now your engineers, instead of building more code and more automation, all they're doing all day long is fixing those tests, because every minute changes that they need to release actually change that complex structure of the page, and therefore breaks the test which rely on that structure. Like that is the problem, and this is what testRigor is solving. For example, if there should be a better way, and if you can do it manually, automation should be able to do that this exact same way. Why is not doing that? And basically what we do is we just abstract away from those details of implementation. You can write tests in English, literally, and testRigor will execute it for you.
So AI is obviously becoming a big part of what you're doing, I'm imagining, based on what you just said, in terms of being able to write tests in English, you just said. How does it, what's behind the technology to enable you to empower people to move faster in this space? Exactly that lack of reliance on details of implementation. So first of all, you don't need to have any technical background whatsoever to write those tests, because it's just English, right? You write them similarly to how you would do it, like documented for somebody to test your website. If you were to hire some, I don't know, like your grandma to help out, right? So very simple steps. And so that means that if you are scaling your business, then you can also save costs. If you're hiring already somebody who is testing your website manually, then the same exact person could automate it to allow you to move faster. Moreover, you can, if you have those test cases documented, in a lot of cases, if you follow the process, you can import the test cases. Of course, it's not like magic, and there needs to be work to make sure they work and correct after AI hallucinations. But it will also help to speed up the process of automating away what you currently doing manually. And this is exactly what we do. It's an amazing world what we're working into, where anyone can write a test case now, where you have to really dig into code, understand the functions, be able to understand what what we're testing, write the code, might be C# or whatever it might be that you're developing in. But now you're abstracting it up a layer. That's what's happening in technology. It's extracting up layers where it becomes easier for potentially non-technical people to get more involved in the space. So we're walking into a fascinating time in technology right now. Definitely. Can I take you back? Because exciting what you're working on right now, but back to 2016 when you started testRigor. How did that come about? you've been through Y Combinator, you've been a part of the biggest accelerator effectively the world has, obviously over in the US. Tell us a little bit about where it all began. Was it a couple of guys in a room hacking away? What did it look like at the beginning of testRigor?
Well, yeah, definitely it was. It was a couple of guys literally. Well, not necessarily in the room. I found people I worked with, like my co-founder Enzo. Before he's in Argentina. We all international, so it was online, kind of Zoom in the Zoom, same Zoom room, but not necessarily physically. And yes, so it wasn't straight path anywhere, even in YC. Basically, like we were applying. We never even talked to us, and then only when we started to take off, we noticed, talk to us, and the way that got us in is the a case study that we built with one of our customers. They just explained to them like how did it help the company, and that was it.
Can you take me back to that case study? What was in that case study at the beginning? Did you have any machine learning components in your technology at the beginning, or has that come about in recent years? What sort of changed over the product, over the journey?
Well, we were bits and pieces. We were using, for example, image classification in order to be able to classify icons.
Okay.
So that you can say click card or click cog or click down or stuff like that.
Got it.
But the originally what was it is we were focusing just plainly on, hey, how do we remove those details of implementation in there, and it was very, very basic level. Like we had specific instructions which we were parsing, like click and enter and drag and all this kind of stuff. Very straightforward, direct instructions. But what we have found is it basically, first of all, it was solving the test maintenance problem, but most importantly, it enabled people to reuse their existing resources, were manual testers that they already had. They didn't have to hire anyone and train or anything like that. Where manual testers were able to do the job. So let me walk you through that. The case study that got us to YC is IDT case study, and they telecom company here in the US, and originally we were traditional processes from 2000s, I guess, and like everybody starts somewhere. You can't just start and everything is magic. And
that's exactly right. It doesn't work begin like from somewhere small, doesn't it? It's always a little seed. Yes.
So and especially we started a long time ago, where we where those things didn't even exist. A lot of things didn't exist at the time, and then we were trying to modernize. One of the kickers to that was the churn. We had kind of high churn in our, because we constantly were releasing with a lot of bugs. Mind you, we would release once a quarter in the first place. And so we hired a new VP of engineering to take care of that, Keith, and he basically ramped up the manual testing team and introduced automation. He hired a whole new automation team, tens of people, and we started to build out automation. Great, like we were using traditional tools like Selenium, Appium, and stuff like that.
Yes.
It was going great. Within first year, we were able to automate away 30% of their functionalities. This is amazing. However, the second year, we got from 30% to 33%.
Oh, It's very fascinating. That just a tiny increase.
The third year was 33% to 34%.
Oh, God. Okay.
So he was like, oops, I'm in trouble. My CTO is not happy about that. We're definitely not going to hit the results within the allocated timeline. Definitely not what we have predicted after the first year. So they started to look for technology and found us, and we helped them to enable their manual testers to build automation. Moreover, we did the blind kind of experiments, and we have like a lot of people, hundreds, and we found out that on average, our manual tester with testRigor technology builds automation about 5 times faster than QA automation engineer, like 4.8 or something like that.
That's significant, isn't it? People don't, to fathom the difference.
Times.
That's like 5 people.
Not percentage.
Yeah.
Times.
Huge. Yeah.
So basically, what is this? Like 380% more tests, basically. And so we were, this is what we should be doing. Otherwise, we're not going to hit the goal. So basically put all hands on deck, and they were able to basically rebuild their automation from 0 to 91% within under 9 months.
Oh, wow. Oh, okay. And that is a massive win. So that was the case study that we need to work on.
And then
okay.
That's just technicality, right?
Yes.
Because like, who cares? From business perspective, the impact was gigantic. Their churn dropped. They were losing like almost 75% of customers were gaining, and then they dropped significantly, 20x drop or something like that. So their stock price shoot up from, I don't remember the specific numbers, something like from $6 to $60 per share or something like that. Like about 10x, like I remember some ridiculous numbers.
That's a significant case study that you built there. Just the impact of what they could do. That's huge.
So to the point that VP of engineering said, hey, I don't need to work anymore. I'm good.
I'm good. We're all done. But the importance of that, Artem, is to talk about if you're building technology. If we want to keep people that are coming back, if you're delivering value, the product needs to be robust, stable. When people want to engage with something that works, if you're constantly pushing out new releases that are breaking the impact to the end user, see the difference in terms of the value of the company, 10 times less, so that after they implemented these things, made it more seamless for their end users. Churn dropped 20%, 20 times? Did you say? Huge amount.
Yep.
Yeah, that's significant.
They almost killed the churn. Yes.
Yeah. So when you're looking at building technology, building stable, robust technology is critical. People expect things to work, even if they're looking at early stage startups or working with early stage businesses. They still want some level of quality. They might have a little bit of room if they understand that you're early, but at some point, you need to be delivering quality because you'll lose customers. Churn rates will be high. But that's a big company, let alone something that's a little bit smaller that's beginning their journey.
Yeah. So, everything should be in its own time, right? If you are just starting your company from ground up, the number one focus, of course, should be just finding your first customers. You shouldn't probably worry about testing in the first place, and then maybe just testing manually, because you definitely don't want anything in a place of you being able to move as fast as possible.
Yeah, it's all about speed of features and reply, because you might be building something that customers don't want. Stop that, start something new. If you build test automation for something that's going to be thrown in the bin, it becomes a big cost impetus. Yeah.
So you don't want to impede your ability to pivot and do something that actually makes an impact on your customers.
For you, let's take you back to finding first customers. It's always an interesting piece in terms of how you went about this? Was it network? Was it reaching out? How did you find your first customers? You've been in the industry for quite a little while, so I'm assuming you had a bit of a network that you built upon, but take me through what first customers look like and who you started solving problems for. How did you start those first customer conversations? How did you build reliance in first customers?
Well, of course, the first one was for the network, right? At some point, I decided to give it a go full time. So I said to myself, hey, I give myself over half a year. If I can't find anybody to pay for the product, then that's it. And you can shut it down.
Yep.
And within a month, well, first of all, I didn't know what to do, right? I was like trying to go to some networking events and ping people, and it wasn't working. It was frustrating. And then somebody told me, like, hey, like, you have such a great network. Why don't you ask around? So I did that. I asked people who I knew, like, hey, do you need something like that? I got a great response. And I said, yes, please. And some of them became our first customers and still with us to this day, interestingly enough. And then, because we got first customers, we got we got the first investors.
Yes.
Yeah, we got the first investors, and then which helps us to build better product, to get more customers, and so on and so forth. Started rolling slowly. So it wasn't easy, of course.
Yeah, it's never easy to bring in first customers, right? So it's always a difficult one. But network is where you must go. There's trust there that helps. So at least they trust you. They understand who you are from your perspective. That yes, you're capable of potentially delivering something, and they've known you for quite some period. So that always helps get a bit of traction. Bringing on your first investors. What was the approach? What was the thinking? What was the strategy there? Was it looking for money strategically? How did you approach the first investment piece?
Well, the first investment was, whoever could give me any money. It wasn't really strategic and stuff like that.
Got it.
We did want to get to YC. I was always very, very interested. We ended up getting there at some point. But other than that, it was just, hey, I feel like if you'll get an investment, we'll be able to move faster, better, and unlock ourselves. And
it enables you to really drive, build better product, right? So that's what.
And again, first investors are people you know.
Yes.
So
it's network again, right?
It's the same.
Yeah.
It was the same exact situation in our case as well.
Interesting. Yeah, that's fascinating. So always go to network first. That's an important one. As an engineer, there's obviously a difficult gap. There's a chasm of sales, marketing, probably not your area of expertise. I might be wrong, but I'm just putting it out there. How did you close those gaps? So obviously you had network, you had people using the product. Did the product speak for itself and build traction on its own accord? Or did you have to bring in early stage marketing, sales? What did that look like in terms of scaling up the new business after that second year started rolling through some customers?
Well, at the beginning we didn't really have a lot of budget. It was quite an interesting experience, right? So I was trying to do different things, and I was mostly selling myself, trying different things. But at some point, we got funds to be able to hire people. Again, not maybe the most expensive, fancy people in here, but somebody at least. And it was in another interesting journey. I didn't know how to do that. So basically, I hired people I knew before. I was trying always to go through my network first and hire people we knew, and the same for my co-founder. So only when we completely exhausted our networks of people we knew are good, then it became a different challenge of finding people who we didn't know. For the sales, so it started mostly from sales, like and the outbound. At some point, we decided, hey, how about we write a little bit about it on our website, and then inbound kicked in. And it started growing slowly. Right now, inbound is the vast majority of our business.
That's a good problem to have. It's not for many businesses. Yeah, inbound. If you're attracting people to your business, that's a great place to be.
Yep. We got lucky in some places, of course, but mostly just regular work. There is no silver bullet. It's just the same work.
Just try, test, iterate, evolve, learn what works, what didn't. Rinse, repeat. Yep. That's the reality of anything in business and startup. You're beyond startup these days. How big is the team now in terms of size and scale, number of engineers compared to sales, marketing? Is it mostly engineer driven given the type of product?
Yeah, majority of the people we have in the company are either support or engineers.
Makes sense. Yeah, very product focused, very technical focused. Your end customers and buyers, are they generally, they're mostly technical people? They're product owners, or are they senior engineers? Who is your target market for a product like this?
Target market for our product?
Yeah, so who do you sell to?
So like the VPs of engineering, directors of QA mostly.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, makes sense. For you, you've been doing this for such a long time. What excites you in the space of what's going on at testRigor in terms of automation, what's happening with AI? Where do you see this business going over the next 5-10 years? What are you envisaging in this market that you're driving into? What's the goals for testRigor?
Oh my God. AI is changing everything. We are full steam. We can't even roll out all the AI features fast enough.
Yeah, well.
And it's extremely exciting. So now things are becoming possible that literally was not possible before. There are some applications like, for example, Flutter. It was complete disaster to try to automate their testing because they're not designed to be testable. They are untestable. I don't know what Google was thinking. But then the AI vision can now see and figure out what to do and how to do it. Then
you're meaning AI vision from a UI perspective, right? So visualizing UI, understanding what to click on.
Yes.
Fascinating. Okay. Talk a bit about that. That's interesting. I haven't really seen too much of that happening in the space yet.
Yeah. So you can, we have a feature kind of using AI, right? Which we rolled out almost everywhere right now, and you can say, hey, click on the such and such, click on, let's say, cart using AI, and cart might be nowhere, like there's no such word anywhere. It's nowhere to be found. There is just an icon of cart somewhere, and AI will be able to figure out, well, when I say AI, there's a lot of stuff because testRigor is technically an AI agent. So remember I was saying, hey, we built these basic commands like click and enter and so on and so forth. Those are not gone. This is the basis of how AI talks to us, and this is how our customers are able to correct the steps that AI is doing, right? Because think about it: how are you going to correct AI? You have to rely on something that is 100% repeatable, reliable. You can't just constantly deal with hallucination, right? But AI definitely can figure out a lot of stuff. You can like click on the things. You can assess validations is super exciting. For example, you can now validate graphs and diagrams. You can say, hey, validate that this graph is growing using AI. How else would you do that? So, is it almost no way?
Yeah, that's fascinating. No, there would be no way at all without that. So, from an user perspective, it makes sense.
Especially if rendering with pixels, right? There's different ways how to render it, but if it's just in the pixels, it's almost impossible to do it otherwise.
It's a fascinating world we're working in. Beyond just test automation, where are you seeing technology going right now in terms of just development per se? Because there's a lot more automation going on in the space. There's products that are popping out that say, we'll build you an app with an AI command. What are you seeing in terms of where technology will go over the next 5 years? I find it fascinating as to what's happening. There's a lot of people working on solving the problems of how we can extrapolate up from code to natural language to write code and all these things that are occurring, which is an example of what you're doing in test automation. What are you seeing in the space, and what are you thinking will happen over the next 5 years?
Well, it definitely will continue to improve for sure, because even with the current level of LLMs, no one yet even took advantage of what is possible right now. Mind you, the exciting development that you can see around that might improve even on that. Would ever AI be on a human level of intelligence? That's still to be seen.
Still to be seen, yeah, it is. Okay.
So it's unclear, literally.
Yeah.
So you can't predict. A lot of people think that it is the case. I think it's probably more likely to be the case than not to be the case eventually.
Yeah, we just timing is hard to see how long
it
might take.
But it eventually might be like next year, might be 25 years from now, or might be never. So it's really, really hard to predict. But what's absolutely certain is that we will see the more and more AI features and better use of what's even available right now in all the products. And definitely, if you're not using AI-based technologies, you're missing out, because look at it. The productivity, it doesn't have to be human level intelligence. Just with the current level of technology, you can gain huge productivity gains if you're using AI. And that's the whole point.
Yeah, it is about productivity gains. I think it's a tool. Being in technology, you're right in the thick of it. But if you're outside the technology realm, you're probably just seeing LLMs as writing blogs, some marketing, and you move on. But how do you embed it in processes in business? How do you streamline certain things? There's a lot of opportunity right now where you can actually take and produce what you've done 5 times better in test automation. There's other areas that just in our business we produce 5 times better in software specifications, requirements, documentation, etc. There's different ways you can actually use the technology that enables you to gather traction or improve efficiency inside your business.
Yes, absolutely, 100% agree with that. So and yes, you might not be yet seeing it because AI is not there to wash your dishes at this point. But I think, washing dishes is actually probably very hard task.
Very difficult. Every plate's different. Yeah, it's every cup. Yeah,
yes, not only that, but it's also working with fragile materials and the complex structures open the dishwasher when you put the cup, make sure you don't break it. And, like it's easy for us humans, but for AI, it's a little bit of a challenge right now. But I don't see anything that cannot be solved at this point. And even with as mentioned, even with the current level of technology, we will get there. It doesn't even need to be better.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
Eventually, yes, maybe those robots will always be like some kind of a dummies, like Roomba 5.0 kind of thing. But I mean, still though, like if they will eventually be able to put your dirty dishes in a dishwasher,
Clean the house and wash the
that's
dishes.
it.
I think we'll be happier than writing a blog article, won't we? I read an article once where someone wrote, I want AI to be able to clean my dishes, wash my house, not do my creative, write my blogs, write my marketing. So I want to take the crappy jobs out of my life. And I think when we get to that point, it will become a huge game changer for humans in terms of what we're doing from a day to day. But it's only in a matter of time for what we're seeing in technology. I 100% agree.
Yep.
Artem, thank you for joining us on the DevReady Podcast. It's been a pleasure talking all things, a bit of technology and how testRigor came about, what your goals are, what you're seeing in the industry and what's coming. If anyone wants to find out about testRigor, go check them out. Just Google them. You'll find test automation out there. Thank you for joining us. Really appreciate your time and coming on and sharing your experience today.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.